The mahogany boardroom table was a stage for humiliation. Darius Thompson, the CEO of Thompson Industries, was on display. Reginald Whitman, the company's chairman, sneered as he tossed a janitor's uniform onto the table. Darius, a classic slave name, very fitting for someone who should be serving us, he said, and the 8 board members laughed cruelly. They had voted Darius out and were publicly shaming him for being a diversity hire. Whitman told him to pack his ghetto belongings and get out. The live stream of the meeting, broadcast by Whitman's son, Tyler, went viral. The comments were a torrent of hatred. Send him back to the projects, and affirmative action fail scrolled across the screen. Board member Harrison Wells remarked that Darius had no father figure to teach you real business, and CFO Richard Cromwell added, "Once project housing, always project housing." Darius remained calm. He glanced at his genuine Patek Philippe watch, worth $180,000, and ignored the international calls buzzing on his phone. He had 18 months of meticulous documentation in his briefcase, his insurance policy. He'd been planning for this. When Whitman ordered security to do a perp walk through the lobby, Darius simply said, "Perp walk. That's quite an escalation, Reginald." He answered a call from Singapore and calmly gave 3 words: "Execute Protocol 7." Every phone in the room buzzed simultaneously. The board members, Whitman included, stared at their screens in horror as their worlds began to crumble. The moment Darius spoke, everything shifted. He opened his briefcase and pulled out a single manila folder marked Singapore Defense Contract, classified. The document detailed an exclusive $800 million deal that Thompson Industries could sign. The problem? Darius's signature was the only one that mattered. He calmly informed the stunned board members that the contract expired in 43 minutes, and without his signature, it would be gone forever. Tyler's live stream went wild as the truth became clear. The $800 million contract was 34% of the company's annual revenue, and the board had just voted to fire the only man who could secure it. While the board members panicked, Sarah Lane, the VP of Operations, burst in to announce that the Singapore defense minister was in the lobby, asking for Darius personally. The hashtag Protocol 7 was now trending worldwide. As the board members reeled from this revelation, Darius hit them with the second one. He calmly told them that their meeting was illegal and all their votes were null and void. According to the company's bylaws, any meeting to terminate the CEO required 48 hours of written notice, not the 17 minutes they had given him. He then explained that their illegal meeting had triggered his equity protection clause, giving him immediate ownership of 30% of the company's outstanding shares, making him the single largest shareholder. The room was in chaos. Darius, now in control, announced he had just submitted SEC filings about the illegal board meeting and was notifying all 50,000 shareholders of the irregularities. The stock price, which had tanked on the news of his firing, immediately jumped 8% when news broke of his new position. With the board's power now in his hands, Darius reached into his briefcase. He pulled out more files, the culmination of 18 months of meticulous investigation. He said, "Gentlemen and lady, I'd like you to meet my insurance policy." He started with Finance Officer Richard Cromwell, revealing an email and wire transfer that proved he had been embezzling money through a fake consulting company. Cromwell's face turned purple as Darius explained the federal charges he would face, 5 to 10 years in prison. Then, he exposed Patricia Northfield, playing a recorded phone call where she used racist slurs and revealed her plan to destroy him. Her daughter anonymously sent the recording to HR, alerting Darius to the conspiracy. The briefcase contained evidence against everyone in the room. He showed text messages from Harrison Wells outlining a bid-rigging scheme with his fraternity brothers. Wells, who had laughed at Darius just minutes before, collapsed in his chair, now facing his own years in federal prison. Finally, Darius presented the thickest folder labeled Chairman Reginald Whitman's name. The folder detailed a comprehensive RICO conspiracy, a plan to plant fake evidence, concoct sexual harassment allegations, and even hire a private investigator to harass Darius's family. Whitman was visibly shaking as Darius calmly explained that the investigator was in fact an FBI informant who had recorded every instruction. The room was deadly silent. They had been recording themselves committing felonies for 3 years with motion-activated cameras they had installed themselves. They had been the authors of their own destruction. Having laid bare their crimes, Darius gave the board members a choice. "Your freedom depends on it," he stated. His first option was simple. He would walk out, let the $800 million Singapore contract expire in 25 minutes, and hand over all of his evidence to the FBI, SEC, and Department of Justice the next morning. This would mean their personal lives in Thompson Industries would be completely ruined. The company would lose all Pentagon contracts, putting 3,000 employees out of a job. As the board members panicked, a message came through from Minister Liu, who was waiting in the lobby. The contract would be voided in 24 minutes with no extensions. Darius explained that the Singapore delegation would simply sign with their competitor, Raytheon, which would mean an additional $4.2 billion in lost revenue over 5 years. He then presented his second choice, which he called his mercy option. He had already prepared their resignation letters. If they signed them, he would sign the Singapore contract, keep the company profitable, and prevent them from going to federal prison. However, this mercy came with conditions. He unrolled a corporate reform document that required a new board, a zero-tolerance discrimination policy, new hiring practices, and executive compensation tied directly to diversity metrics. In short, he was dismantling the entire system they had built. With the Singapore delegation waiting and the FBI already reviewing preliminary evidence, the board members had no choice. One by one, they reached for the elegant Mont Blanc pen he had placed on the table, their signatures a surrender. The last to sign was Reginald Whitman, who had started this entire spectacle. Darius looked at him calmly and told him to keep the janitor's uniform. "Something tells me you're going to need work clothes soon." With their defeat secured, Darius went to sign the contract, saving Thompson Industries and setting a new standard for justice. The contract signing with Minister Liu of Singapore was a triumph. As cameras from BBC, CNN, and Reuters flashed, Darius signed the $800 million deal, securing the company's future. Tyler's livestream had exploded to 400,000 viewers, with comments hailing Darius as a hero. Immediately after the ceremony, Darius began his corporate reformation. He announced a new board, with Sarah Lane as the new chairwoman. His project equity included an AI-assisted hiring system to eliminate human bias and a new anonymous hotline for employees to report discrimination. The stock market reacted instantly, with Thompson Industries closing up 23% and reaching an all-time high. The disgraced former board members faced swift consequences. Whitman's personal empire collapsed, and he was caught by local news applying for entry-level jobs. Cromwell faced federal charges for embezzlement, and his assets were seized. Wells declared bankruptcy, and Patricia's daughter testified against her in a hate crime proceeding. The very systems they had used to oppress others now ensured their downfall. Darius focused on building a new kind of company. He explained that justice wasn't just about punishment, but about building systems that prevent future harm. He renamed the conference room the Protocol 7 Room, dedicating it to ethical decision-making. Jerome Washington, who had been ordered to arrest Darius, was promoted to Chief Security Officer, a role now expanded to include corporate integrity. Darius had transformed the company from a place of prejudice into a symbol of what American business could achieve. The transformation of Thompson Industries was a story of systemic change. Employee satisfaction and productivity skyrocketed. The company's new ethical reputation attracted top talent from around the world. The Singapore contract was just the beginning. It opened doors to a $4.2 billion defense partnership with the entire Southeast Asian Defense Alliance. The story of the company's dramatic turnaround, dubbed the Thompson Standard, became a Harvard Business School case study. Darius's 18-month preparation strategy was hailed as Protocol 7 and was taught in business and law schools worldwide. The very same live stream that was meant to be his public humiliation, Tyler Whitman's broadcast, had been viewed over 50 million times and was now required viewing in corporate ethics courses. The former board members faced their own brand of justice. Whitman, the man who had orchestrated the entire plot, lost his wealth and his family. He now worked nights at a warehouse, a cautionary tale for all to see. Cromwell served time in federal prison and upon his release, ironically started a small consulting firm specializing in corporate ethics. Wells and Patricia were completely ruined. Their legacies became cautionary tales taught in business school ethics courses.